And now we're going to move on to Combiners Wars Brawl. Hopefully the lighting's a little bit better. I adjusted things a little bit. Noticed the videos looked a little dark, so hopefully things are a little bit better. So now we're looking at Brawl, and he is, of course, a tank, much like his G1 counterpart. And unlike his previous counterparts, pretty much the entire rest of Decepticons, he doesn't have a previous remold. This actually is a new, at the time at least, was a new mold for the Combiner Wars series. Though he was later reused for the drill tank, I don't remember, Nose Cone. For Nose Cone in the Computron combination. But even that looks quite a bit different, so he does look pretty good though. Let me remove this piece. For his accessories, his gun's actually the front of the tank. So you could pick it up here, but of course you're going to want to just slide it back into here. And it gives you a tank. Unfortunately, the turret doesn't move. It can aim upward, like how it hinges in there. You can actually aim the cannon upward like this, which is pretty cool considering how they actually managed to get that work. And the actual turret can kind of aim upward like that, though. Yeah, obviously that's for transformation. Also reveals Brawl's head that's just kind of looming underneath there. And it does have wheels. Doesn't roll too good. Oh, I forgot to discuss whether Swindle rolled or not when I was reviewing him. He does roll pretty good, so. But he does look a pretty good looking tank. It's got the nice detailing for the treads underneath. Everything's nice military green. A little bit of silver on the back there to break it up. I do think there should have been a little bit more silver, maybe on the front or on the sides. You kind of get these like blue headlights right here, Decepticon sigil there. On that side, each side of the turret has a sigil. Nothing really too detailed along the back, but it doesn't look bad. I really like his handgun and how it gets worked into the vehicle, as of course you could just peg it on top and like any other vehicle would, like, you know, handgun. But what's really neat, as you saw at the start of the video, you can actually peg it in. The thumb actually folds in. There's this little trench right here. And this whole mechanism folds back, and you can fold the guns down, and it actually kind of looks like his G1 guns. As the G1 version had two giant guns that kind of folded over the top and pointed forward. So that's actually really neat how they worked that in there. That actually looks, it hides the hand really well because these do just look like guns. I don't see the thumb anymore, you can't see the fingers underneath. You wouldn't immediately think this is that hand-foot gun piece, so that's a pretty neat integration. I really like that. That's the best of the whole Combiner Wars series as far as I'm concerned, as far as handgun and integration. It's really neat. So yeah, that's the vehicle mode. It's pretty nice. Pretty nifty little vehicle mode. Let's get down to transformation. We're going to start with leg mode, of course. For that, you're just going to fold up the turret a little bit. Take the entire bottom half of the tank. Separates out into these little struts. It's going to fold in like this, and when it does, you can see it actually flips around and folds out a little peg hole. And what that does is it just makes the tank short enough, as if you use this peg hole, the tank is too tall to be a leg compared to other leg modes. So then you just fold that out, plug the foot in, and there you have a leg. It looks like a tank. It looks pretty good. You can fold the turret down, but you know, it depends on which way you want the turret. Personally, I prefer it up here on the kneecap. So that's the leg mode. Not too bad. Pretty solid leg. For the arm mode, you're going to fold that part back out. Fold this down. This is where it starts getting a little bit tricky. The arm mode is a tricky thing to form. Kind of get the turret out of the way. You want to separate the front half and the back half of the tank. Of course, you want to bring these down to the double hinges, and they do slot in like that. Pretty much like you're forming the legs. Once again, they kind of just slide in, slot in like that. Peg it back together. They don't peg back together too well once they're out like this. This is where it kind of gets a little bit messy, as you could just kind of stop here and then turn the waist like that. And you could say that's an arm mode, which doesn't look bad. You know, it looks like a tank that was turned into an arm. Oh, if you can, mine doesn't stay tabbed together. He doesn't make a good arm just because it doesn't stay tabbed together. As you can see, yeah, it doesn't like to stay together. So you can say that's an arm mode, but really what they have for the arm mode is kind of bad. What they want you to do is fold all this out, get turret back, pull these out on these little double hinges, fold them up like that, fold the turret down like that, and that's what they want you to use for the arm mode. And I kind of get what they're going for because it does lengthen out the arm. You know, the arm comes down a little bit more. It does make it a little bit taller for an arm. Stick the hand on. And I do try to kind of turn everything so where it still looks like a solid half of the upper tank. But now you just have parts hanging off everywhere. Nothing really has a general shape. You have a lot of hollowed out plastic shown, especially on the bottom part of the arm. I hate how this looks. It's much like how Rook's arm mode looks. It's not a good arm mode. Use him as a leg. Just use him for a leg. So now we're just going to put the hand foot gun to the side. Good news though is this is pretty close to how we get him to robot mode. So just going to go ahead and fold up the connector bit. Plug this waist actually tabs into there right there. So like that. Fold the waist forward, split the legs. Straighten out the arms a little bit. Fold down the lower arms. Just untab and then bring out the little strut slightly. Finally, you might have to get the turret out of the way for this, but you're going to come back here, fold out the head, bring the turret back down. And there we have Brawl in his robot mode. And he's okay. Unfortunately for Brawl, his best mode definitely is his leg mode and his tank mode. And here, I don't know why, but he has such a weird look. Like, I mean, look at him from the front, he looks alright, but the moment you look at him from the side, what happened? Where is half of his torso? Why did they go for this weird strut mechanism that just leaves him with part of his torso missing? You can kind of fill it in using this connector bit, the arm connector, leg connector. You can actually fill it in slightly by flipping it out, but it still leaves him like with this triangular design. Like, I mean, once again, when you look at him from the front, it's not too bad. He looks fine on it. Especially if you're just sitting on a shelf, he looks fine. But when you start, especially when you start messing with him, starting to realize how easy it is just to make his whole lower body just fold out. I don't know why they went for this kind of design. There is another fix. You can fold in the bottom part and kind of have like that, and it does make him look a little bit more solid, even when he's standing there. But it does also make him quite a bit shorter, as if we say grab Vortex here, who we reviewed previously. You can see he's now a good head shorter than Vortex. Meanwhile, if you fold it back out like it's supposed to be, he's in line with how tall he should be. So let's kind of pick your poison. You want him to be a little bit shorter, or do you want him to have a ridiculous looking waist? I really don't know what they were going for there. But he does actually have quite a few ports to work with. He does have sidearm ports, so you could plug his the hand foot gun on the side and give him like a flamethrower. You can take the front of the tank cannon. You can put it in his hand. You can hold it as a gun. Doesn't look that bad. You can also take it and plug it into the arm. Also doesn't look that bad. Doesn't look great, but I don't think it looks bad. You can also, of course, if you're doing tank tray, you can leave it there, but it does leave the cannon to kind of stick out a little far. If you want to shorten it, you can actually peg it a step shorter, and it actually does shorten the cannon a little bit, so looks proportionally a little bit better in robot mode. You see how much he just kind of flops around from that waist piece. Like, there's nothing really locking that hinge in, so he easily bows. Like, I really don't know what Hasbro and Takara were going for with that. Well, I should say Hasbro, mainly, but it's such a weird look. I don't know why they would do something so ridiculous as this waist piece. It's like the biggest fault for me with the whole Decepticon set is that waist just makes no sense. But articulation is pretty good. He has a swivel, no ball joint at the head, so just swivel only. Arm articulation's alright. You have rotation. You have double hinge inside of the arm, so you can, but even with both hinges, you can only go out about that far. You have a ball joint at the elbow, so rotation, and it does work as an elbow. You also have this joint back here you can use for a little bit, but only going backwards. You do have waist articulation. I guess this is what the joint's good for, because you do get an ab crunch, a really good ab crunch, and it works. I mean, it's an ab crunch, that's for sure. So if you really want to, he has ab crunch articulation, so that's at least a good benefit of it. Ball joint at the hips, so outward too, swivel right there. You do have a knee, but it's one of those invisible knees where it breaks up the leg, which looks not good. And he does have pretty, actually good foot articulation. That's the sad part about it. He actually has really good articulation, as, of course, it could go like that, so you can actually have the ankle rocker, so you can actually spread the legs. But you also have these hinges here from where he transforms. You can actually use them to give him stepping poses and stuff. You have to pose with it a little bit, the hinge is sitting properly, but you could get some more dynamic posing with him, as you can see. And once again, at Combiner Wars time, this was a big deal. This was definitely a major step up in articulation. So I want to recommend him, especially with articulation. You know, you could say he has an ab crunch. He has a lot of ankle articulation that was really uncommon, especially even for Combiner Wars. But at the same time, he just doesn't look good, especially from long angles. He's not too great to mess around with. I can't recommend him on his own, but of course you're going to want to get him with the set, and with the set, he's great. So, Brawl is an alright figure. He's probably the weakest of the bunch, but not the worst thing I've ever seen. So we'll be moving on to Onslaught next.